plane to Santiago in Chile and one more to Punta Arenas, before excitedly boarding the Antarctic Airways flight to King George Island on the Antarctic Peninsula, where we landed rather precariously on the gravel landing strip. Once here, we embarked onto small Zodiac boats and headed for our ship. After mandatory biosecurity checks and many safety briefings, we set sail south, making our way through thick brash ice and ice floes, offering resting places for leopard seals in the shadows of towering icebergs. The mornings in Antarctica were often very calm and very tranquil. Most days, the view looked more like a painting than it did real life. I'd start each day by scanning the ice floes and enjoying the epic landscapes I had woken up to. It was common to be greeted each morning by several species of seal and whale. My binoculars are an essential part of my kit bag, and they stayed firmly around my neck throughout this expedition. And of course, my camera was rarely out of my hands, capturing fleeting glimpses of wildlife and ice. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! This is incredible. Oh wow! Oh my gosh! And the tail! Oh! That's okay. Oh my gosh! Oh. The fun never stops. Oh, we have an albatross! We have an albatross! Oh my goodness! Black-brown albatross! Oh. I say it time and time again, but this is the best thing about seabirds. I'm gonna get drenched. I think it's safe to say that there were plenty of chaotic moments amongst the calm. But anyway, back to the film. In the late morning, we embarked on Zodiac cruises, exploring the area and maze of icebergs. These cruises were an incredible opportunity for wildlife encounters, like this unforgettable experience with humpback whales on our first day. Each day I was truly lost for words at the sheer beauty and enormity of Antarctica. But of course, the species I was most excited to meet were the penguins. I had the opportunity to land at 3 different penguin colonies, each with different penguin species and different photographic opportunities. wildlife was phenomenal, but one of the unexpected highlights for me was the stillness of Antarctica. The calming silence and the ice, which came in so many extraordinary shapes and colours, governing our course. As with any wildlife photography expedition, there are challenges and there are victories, but at times during this trip I felt exceptionally challenged due to weather conditions, time constraints, and very important but very restrictive avian influenza protocols. So today we've landed on Peterman Island, and here there is an incredible colony of Gen 2 penguins, Adelie penguins. As you can see, it's snowing pretty heavy. The visibility is quite poor. It's very difficult to do any photography because of the strict avian influenza protocols, which means that we can't sit, crouch, lay, kneel, put bags on the floor to change lenses. It's pretty tough. Obviously very important rules that we're all respecting and adhering to, but it makes the element of wildlife photography pretty difficult. So far today I'm trying to go for a high key approach. I'm looking for more than one penguin, trying to make the most of those beautiful monochrome plumage in the leading lines, try and get some unique shapes and just try and capture something different. But as I've mentioned, it's a tough one today. But having said that, I did capture a small handful of images that I'm happy with. As I often look for symmetry in my work, I was so excited to meet the chinstrap penguins, knowing that the lines on their plumage would offer me plenty of creative opportunities. Now this was an idea that I had prior to my visit, and as always, waiting for a wild bird to position its head and body symmetrically takes time, but it's always worth the wait. Here I've adopted my trademark high-key approach by overexposing in camera to exaggerate the whites, but not so far that I lose my blacks. When I find potential in a shot but the symmetry lacks, I explore different compositions to make it work. This Adelie penguin was stood a little twisted, meaning that the black feathers on the left side of its body were much heavier than they were on the right. I still really wanted to capture the portrait as I loved the tiny drops of water on its head and the eyes of this bird, but a central composition was just too uneven. Photographing wildlife within their environment is my key aim for the coming year or more, but it was easier said than done in Antarctica despite the mighty array of landscape. This image was taken on my favourite landing to Booth Island in Port Charcoal. The mountains were tremendous, the light was fairly nice and the shapes and lines really appealed to me. When I raised my camera to my eye, there was something quite Ansel Adams-esque about the scene. I was hoping for a penguin in the foreground, but that didn't happen within the time I had to capture this shot. However, I think I prefer the subtle and iconic shape of the penguin walking back to its colony, for it doesn't distract from the view. Despite the big mountains, glaciers and icebergs, there is a lot of simplicity in the Antarctic environment. This image was taken at 840mm of tiny, distant penguins walking the mountain ridge to their colony. As the simple shapes really caught my attention from the boat, I tried to capture it with a long lens. And I really like how the curved layers of compressed ice and snow complemented the curved line being walked by the birds. Although a high-key approach is a technique I apply more often than not, I sometimes opt for a low-key technique, and I find it very useful to apply in situations of harsh light and shadows. To achieve this, I simply underexpose in my camera to exaggerate the blacks. But to make this technique effective, I had to find a penguin that was in the light but stood in front of a shadow. Here we have a chin-strap penguin being side-lit by the harsh afternoon sun. It was stood in front of a shadowed boulder, so I sat with my camera ready for several minutes until the bird showed me some creative potential, like tipping its head backward and creating this beautiful line from beak to wing. And similarly here, with the same technique applied to the side profile of a Gen 2 penguin, as I noticed and loved how the light was catching the contours and feathers of its body. And lastly, a more traditional approach to wildlife photography, as sometimes the scene is beautiful enough that it needs no extra creativity put into it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've been as excited about this video as I was to see this humpback whale. If so, please do like and subscribe to my channel. And to view my full portfolio of images from Antarctica, head over to my website, which is linked in the bio. I truly look forward to seeing you next time.